Welcome to part 2 of the fire sprinkler series, where we're adding sprinklers after witnessing the tragic fire right across the street from the farm. We're picking up on the $150 mistake we left off in the first video, where I ordered all the wrong sprinkler heads. In this video, we get our custom airtight boxes mounted with the right sprinklers installed, run all the PEX piping, and performing the dreaded pressure test. We set up a little fundraiser benefiting the volunteer fire company who dealt with all 3 nearby fires last year. If you have the means, please send a few dollars their way to keep them up and running. We'll keep it live through the last video in this series when we get the tank and pump hooked up. I'm basically starting over with these guys. I took the ones that I had up down to trim them down and clean them all off. And while I'm waiting on the new sprinklers to come in, I will just mount these as is, and then I'm just going to torque the sprinklers when they're installed in the ceiling. I want to start getting the piping in, so I don't really want to hold this off too much longer. We have drywall here coming in a couple weeks and need to get all this interior stuff wrapped up. As I mentioned, I'm going to be using 1-inch PEX in this system, and I hope I don't regret this. The one thing I kind of forgot about this PEX B, especially in these larger diameters, is how incredibly stiff it is, and it comes coiled, so it wants to retain its shape memory in a circular shape when I want it straight. And now I can really see why professional sprinkler installers, for residential anyway, use a lot of CPVC, because it's perfectly straight to start with. So I'm going to try to warm this up a little bit to try to make it more malleable before I roll it out and try to get it straight-ish. It's never going to be perfectly straight. This may be a good or bad idea, but I'm going to run hot water through this to warm it up. We'll see how well this works. Luckily, we have not only a cold, but a hot water hose bib, so I can do this outside without causing too much of a mess. I cobbled together this little connector from a sprinkler fitting and a hose bib adapter, and then a double female before I got to my hose. I don't have this sealed, obviously, so. Oh, yep, there we go. Yep, it's warm water. If you look closely, you can see how the bubbles flowing through. It's pretty neat. Definitely getting nice and warm. Whether this is going to help anything or not, I don't know exactly. Now that it's time to actually put some piping in, I'm going to see if I can blow the water out of this. Check this out. Not bad. I think this piping holds like 5 gallons of water or something like that. It's quite a bit. Just keeps going. I'm shocked at how much water this holds. Whoa! The water cannon! Just shot water all over the side of the house. I hope this was worth something. If not, it was kind of a waste of time. You'll see in a little that I tried working with the coil on the next day cold, and I learned quickly that the hot water was in fact not a waste of time. I don't have my fancy PEX uncoiler that I had when I was doing the radiant floor, but I'm not sure it would help that much with this big guy anyway. I'm just gonna have to roll this thing out on the floor and see what we can do with it. I think it's just gonna be a lot of manhandling. And there is still a healthy amount of water in here. So that's gonna be fun. Totally get why CPVC is the choice now, but I do not like CPVC. At least where I can't access it again to replace it when it goes brittle and fractures on me. I'm using these black tube talons. They're little clips, and I've already got a couple on the wall where I think I need to route this. My pump is going to be right down here, so I'm just going to bring it down and leave it long where the pump's at, and I'll trim it to length later. It's going to be really hard to get this looking good like how I want it. The 1-inch PEX is just exponentially tougher than the 1/2 inch, especially because it's PEX B. Lots of clips I'm going to use on this. Here's what's going on over here. Here's my main riser coming from the utility room. Had to take an elbow, unfortunately, because this has got a 9-inch bend radius and I could not make the bend where I wanted to. I want the riser to go straight up through to the 2nd floor, and I didn't want that to be a branch T either. I could have probably put a T and made that a branch here instead of putting this 90, but there's quite a bit of pressure loss coming around a branch T, so I'd rather keep that down feeding the garage sprinklers down below and let the through port of the T go up to the second floor where it's gonna need the most pressure to get all the way up there. I'm just dry assembling all this right now because I still need to keep everything somewhat free in order to get my crimping tool in here to get these crimps in. I'm just gonna get everything cut to length and dry assembled and then come back and do all the crimping, unless there's some like this where it's like right up against framing and I need to crimp it before I can cut all the rest of the pipe to length and fit it with this. I've started shoving the riser up through that hole that I drilled from below, and that guy is gonna come all the way up into my bathroom soffit and then right over to this T in the hall, which I just mounted. Need a ring. Got my riser all fastened in, and now that I have it up here before I lose all my daylight, I'm just gonna work up here till it gets dark. My plan is to come off this T and then put another T right in this stud bay so that I'll have basically a main running all the way down, and I'm gonna go about 2 3/4 from the bottom edge of the stud. That's what approximately that measures. And the easy way to do this would be to run this on top of the studs, but being this is a vented attic, I want to make sure I have as much insulation on these pipes as possible. So I'm just going to keep it at the same level as it's coming into this box. That'll require more drilling, obviously, going through all these ceiling joists, but it'll give some peace of mind as well. Once I get the main trunk line in, I'm going to just cut it in place and tee off of it to go to all of my various branches in all the rooms. One down, a lot to go. That's probably like 20 holes roughly, I would guess. All in a nice straight line thanks to the laser. To get the height right on each hole, I just cut a piece of cardboard at 2 3/4 inch so I didn't have to pull my tape measure out every single hole. I could just hold this up to the bottom of the stud, drill where the top edge of the cardboard is.
I should probably be wearing safety glasses.
Baby, you're handling a piece of pipe. You're good.
What if it comes down and smacks me in the face?
Don't worry about it.
Whoa.
Yes, it's got water in the coils. That's why I said try to plug the thing.
But look at how cool the water looks.
Beat it up on the surface.
That's so cool.
Once you get that end up in the air, it all stays down in the coil. That's all you got to do. That's why I got the other end plugged. It's still really freaking stiff.
But now you know why people don't use it.
Yes, it's much more labor, but putting it up in the ceiling like this, I don't trust CPVC. So the idea is we'll get the whole run in, and then I'm just gonna cut it where I need to for the T's.
Is it working okay?
Yeah. Yep, the studs straighten it out nicely.
I'm trying to like push it. Now you can see it a little bit better.
It's all about the order of assembly. Get everything to fit together nicely. Oh, I might need to take some off this. Take like a 1/2 inch off.
You got it.
I might need to take some more off yet. Try not to stress the joints of the pipe because this PEX is, it's not straight, so it's hard to get any joint totally stress-free. It's the same thing with any piping, like, a glued joint is the same deal. You don't want to stress it where the joints are because that's where it's going to fail, or the glue is not going to seal, or the ring's not going to seal completely. But if the pipes are a little bit free to move, then the sealing rings can do its job. Okay, gosh, one down. Quite a few more to go.
Do you tighten them now?
No, I'm gonna come back and do it all of them together so I can just do a really good inspection to make sure that I get everyone. I don't want to like piecemeal it and do just a couple and then try to come back and inspect them all. I'm gonna do all that in one shot. Plus, I don't want any of the super connected. If I have to, for some reason, you know, shift or take one apart, I can just basically dry assemble it all and then come back in one step and crimp it.
So how are you figuring out exactly where the T's gonna go?
I can see that I'm in the right stud bay and that this is the side that I'm mounting the sprinkler to. And I'm basically just eyeballing where this T is gonna sit in order for the branch to be coming about a 2x4 width off the face of this, because that's what I'm gonna use as any supports. So I gotta keep the T a little bit off the joist. So it's not super precise. I mean, that is the benefit of the PEX as well. The benefit and the curse is it's flexible and it has a little bit of give to it. So, you know, you can kind of pull it around where you need to at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
So I eyeball where it's going to be cut, and then I look at what letter on the printing of the tube, if I'm fortunate enough to be on a label, and I can then cut through that exact letter. So I don't need to mark the pipe. I can just hold it up, see where I got to cut, and then cut.
Are there any considerations for how far it has to be away from a smoke detector, or does that matter?
No.
Okay. I just figured, because the one that's in this bedroom is like right next to...
If there's truly smoke in the ceiling, your smoke detector is going to go off, and if there's heat in the ceiling, then the sprinkler will go off. Heat only happens when there's a legitimate fire. George wants to give some news here. There's been a development this afternoon. UPS Ground and Viking Supply knocked it out of the park and shipped my new sprinklers in like literally less than 24 hours after I ordered them. So that's awesome. I was fully prepared to torque the sprinklers into the fittings while they're all in the ceiling, but I might as well do it on the bench again. So that is what I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or so doing, putting the right sprinklers in. And I did double check these. It is the red bulb for 155 degrees Fahrenheit.
Big boy's gonna help. You can help put the sprinklers up, hopefully.
And just like that, we're at the last one. Last one on the ground anyway. I did install 4 in the ceiling, so I'm gonna have to do those on the ladder, but that's all right. This mistake, while a minor setback, could have been a lot worse. I could have already had water to the system and pressure, and that would have been a real mess. And I also could have had them all up in the ceiling already. I caught that just in time. This little mishap is a fine example of all of the tiny little miscellaneous errors that you can easily make when building anything, really, if you don't think through literally every step of the process, like 10 steps ahead. That's the last one. We'll check my height is good. Yeah, I'm really glad I shaved that little bit off. Now we're sitting right at about an 1/8 inch above the ceiling. That way the deflector has plenty of room to drop down. We are on to day 2 of sprinkler piping install. I take back what I said yesterday about the fact that the heating didn't really do anything with the pipe. Now that the pipe is cold, I understand how much more rigid it is. Heating the pipes up with some warm water definitely helps. I went down again and did it this morning to make my life a little bit easier. But of course not after wrangling like 2 sprinklers in with the super stiff pipe. It was not a fun time. Anyway, I finished up the main trunk that goes all the way from one end to the other. And then I've now completed 3 of the, I think, 9 branches that are up here on the second floor. I found it's easier to cut the branch piping to the rough length and then put the sprinkler box on the end of that tube, then lift the box up with the tube attached to it. This pipe is stiff enough that you don't want to be bending it and trying to maneuver it into a fitting more than you absolutely have to. So I've found that that is the easiest way to go about this. Fast forward a few hours and I've been kind of delinquent at filming this because the lighting is so bad up here, but I've done a couple more of the branches. So this one in the bedroom is done. That wasn't too bad. Now I'm working on this line coming across here. So this feeds this laundry circuit first. So I just put the T in roughly up there. You can just barely see the tip of it. And that comes down and does a hard right angle into here. And there's gonna be a sprinkler mounted right there in the laundry closet. Then that T will continue and I'm gonna sort of snake it around and feed it to a sprinkler mounted on, where is it? That piece of blocking right there. So I just put that up there. That sprinkler will flow through and feed this bathroom in here. Why am I putting a T in here and not just a regular elbow like all the rest of them? Well, I made 1 extra T and I didn't realize it, and I don't have enough elbows. So I'm getting a little bit creative. I'd rather not go through the whole return and rebuying process. These figs are pretty expensive too.
Held that sprinkler up and marked out where I need to drill.
Make sure there's no wires on the other side. That wiring is done. These hole saws are a beast. Now this is the really hard part, getting this now cold snake of coil in here and getting it where I want it. It's like wrangling a bull or a big red snake, whatever you want to call it. Try to use the framing as much as possible to straighten this stuff out. My number one worry with this is the fittings that I do have. If they're not perfectly aligned with the edges of this, which are curved, they might leak, and I really am going to do a good job pressure testing this and rattling those fittings around to make sure we do not have any leaks in this attic long term. That's like my worst fear. But on the other hand, if it was CPVC and it froze up here, then it could burst. So all in the name of fire protection. There's going to be trade-offs. Definitely should have used PEX A though. A little bit more money, but just a little decrease in stiffness would have been worth it. The B is just so incredibly tough. It's incredibly tough. Here's what I'm working with up here. I just got that piece on the left there in, secured it with that little clamp, and it kills me out to have this stuff, you know, nice and square and plumb and everything, but I'm just trying to go with the flow of the curvature of the tubing. That's like really the only way I can get this stuff to fit. Now I just need to take the slack back out of this, feed it through to where my blocking's at. Now I think I'm gonna take the heat gun and try to straighten that last section out before I put the sprinkler up there, because I don't want that joint to be stressed with the sprinkler either. So I'll straighten it out before I cut it. That way I can use the pipe to lever that end straight. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Save it for sleep when you can live in daydream. Just need to straighten out this last little bit. Today it's actually New Year's Eve. So it's a little bit chilly out. It's probably like 38, something like that, maybe low 40s as the high today. The important part is not overheating it or hot spotting it, because you can unlink the cross-linked polyethylene, or PEX, that's where the X comes from, is the cross-linking. Just heating it above ambient temperature to help it bend a little bit easier. And I'm gonna use this 2x6 that it's in to help bend it. Just gotta hold it where I want it while it cools so it hopefully stays there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it and see what happens. Definitely a lot better. This actually went a lot easier than I was expecting it to. Heat gun slightly melted my ladder. I definitely think when I start to crimp all these, I'm gonna have the heat gun handy to sort of soften up the PEX right where the crimp's gonna be, to help it sort of seat onto the grooves a little bit better. I cannot remember if I mentioned it, but I'm using the drill instead of my impact driver because I don't want the impacts hurting the glass bulb of the sprinkler. Thought the cordless drill would be a little bit smoother driving these screws in. Let me grab my level and make sure that we're on point here. Got to make sure my drywall is not going to hit this. Right now it's just right there. Question is, I'm going to get a pipe in through the other side, seat on the nipple, and it looks like it shouldn't be too bad, as long as I have it straight. That bathroom sprinkler was my, I guess, third to last one up there, but I'm waiting on one more elbow, which I still needed for the above the stairwell. And then the laundry room, I have that elbow plugging my coil with water in it. With that bathroom done, I'm moving on to the lower portion of the garage apartment this evening. I'm gonna put the whole bottom trunk in. I'm basically gonna follow the same philosophy as upstairs. do a full long run all the way. I have 2 runs out in the front of the garage I have to hit, 2 runs here in this back garage. The utility room and the 3rd run in the front garage are covered with the tee that I put in going that way off my main supply line from the pump. So let's get to it.
You want to come on the scaffold? Okay, come on. Jump. You want to play. That's a play tail. We're not playing right now, bud. I know. Not right now. Alex turned on the ambiance lighting.
Mood lighting.
All right, PEX time. Watch, there's a dog.
Well, he's gonna get steamrolled.
You're in the building zone. Come on, over
George,
here.
you construction dog today or not?
Come on.
Okay, I got it. Sometimes you gotta just get it rotated just right and that slides right through. Actually, maybe I should just straighten this out, mount this, then try to cut that. It's all about the sequencing when it comes to plumbing. If you do it in the wrong order, you can screw up so easily and cost yourself so much more effort and time than you needed to. Or you can think about it for 2 hours, not do anything, and spend the same amount of time in the end. That's what I like to do.
Also potentially still mess up and end up redoing
And then
it.
still mess it up and then still redo it. It's my new ergonomic technique for straightening the pipe out. I'm out of gas on all the rest of the techniques. Over the knee was a pretty faithful one, but over the shoulder is pretty good too. I'm gonna try to wrangle this up here. Need a little bit more pipe.
Your
What?
face is
Yeah, it's me struggling. Oh, and I lost. I'm on to the very last sprinkler in the garage. Still have one more to wrap up upstairs, but this is like number 19 out of 20. And I'm thinking as I'm wrangling the pipe on the last one, what could I have done to make my life a little bit easier on this? And the thought just came to me, why the heck did I not buy PEX in straight lengths? I knew kind of in the back of my head that it's available in straight lengths. You can see it in any big box store, but I just never thought about getting the 1-inch PEX in straight lengths. It's probably because I did all of our supply plumbing in 1/2-inch PEX that all came on rolls. Very easy to work with because it's so much thinner. And I just assumed that I should just get a roll of the 1-inch, but I didn't even think about getting it from just a plumbing distributor nearby, and they make it up to 20-foot straight lengths, which actually would have been perfect for most of these runs. I don't think there's any single piece of pipe here that's longer than 20 feet before you hit a T or an elbow or something like that. So that would have saved me a heck of a lot of work and time and energy if I would have just bought the piping in straight lengths. So learn from that mistake. If you're not going to use CPVC, make sure you get the PEX in straight lengths if you're putting one of these systems in, and it will save you a heck of a lot of effort. My biggest worry after doing all this work is that we're going to have minor leaks at those T's and elbows where there's just a little bit too much stress caused by the curvature of the pipe. And so I really hope that that's not the case. I'm going to do my best job that I can warming the pipe when I crimp it to get that plastic to really flow around those sealing grooves and make a good tight seal. I'm going to start by testing it with air and probably crank it up to pretty high pressure to really make sure that nothing's going to come apart. And if we have any air leaks at all, I'm probably going to take that section out and replace it with straight piping because I do not want to risk any leaks up in our ceiling, both the garage ceiling here and the attic upstairs. That would be a huge pain in the butt. I can access the ones in the attic if I really had to. I can pull the insulation up. But the ones in this garage ceiling are going to be totally enclosed by flooring on the top and sheetrock on the bottom. And our Siga Myrex air barrier. And I really don't ever want to tear into that. So yeah, I'm gonna be extra careful about pressure testing this and making sure that we have a robust system with no leaks. This sprinkler in our little laundry closet is the only one that's not getting an airtight box. It's just got this little storage platform above it, and there's no unconditioned space adjacent to where this thing's going, so that is why it doesn't need it. These are just normal old 1¼ inch pipe straps. That's what I'm holding these down with. Some general construction screws. Sprinkler's catching on my block. Should put the block up higher. Well, I thought it would be easier to do this up here because I had more leverage on the crimp tool, but it was a bear just getting up here. Oh, not strong enough this time of the day to do that little acrobatic stunt. Oh gosh, this ladder is just not tall enough. Anyway, it is time to start crimping all of these things. Being that it's January, it's about 40 degrees out right now. I'm going to just hit these with the heat gun ever so slightly to warm them up, help that material, that plastic, or that polyethylene sort of flow into the grooves of the brass connectors and hopefully create a tighter seal than just doing it straight cold. I've already done these two on this sprinkler box, so I'm gonna start with this tee here, kind of work my way out from the center of the trunk, make sure all the tees are pulled tight with their adjacent pipes as I go, and hopefully we can make sure that there's no leaks in this. The one silver lining of having these tees here is it's right next to my attic catwalk. I'm going to put some Sharpie marks where the tees are, provided that they do hold for the initial pressure test. That way in the future I can always just inspect them right off the side of the catwalk. I'll have a couple pieces of insulation I just have to take up just to do a peace of mind inspection in the future to make sure there's no dripping leaks or anything like that. All right, so let's do the first one. Oh, is that thing unplugged? Can you plug in that extension cord down there, sweetie? The shoddy looking one. Thank goodness he's in here. Thank you. Same as when I was bending them, I can't go too hot. Just want to get above room temperature anyway. Just give these guys as best of a chance as possible of sealing up. Yep, they're nice. They're just warm. No warmer than running some warm water through would make them. Almost lost the crimp ring for this one inside the joist. All right. These 1-inch crimps do take some force, I found. Keep them about 1/4 inch off the back end. The slower the crimp, I've read, also helps. I'm still just in disbelief that I didn't buy straight PEX for this. Like, oh my gosh. All the things. It definitely helps being up here and not on the ladder, as far as the leverage is concerned. I got my handy dandy check tool, go no-go gauge, make sure I can get it over every one of them, but not all the way over every one of them. That's when it's bad. Crimp too tightly. Yep, looking good. Now I just need to repeat that, somewhere around 50 more times. So let's get to it. Working my way down the line, and this is the last major joint here, except for the very end. This is probably the sketchiest one of all because it is 4 pretty rigid pipes curved coming into one another, and I have just a little piece joining it all. So I try to rotate everything so that they have the most natural bend possible, but that's the best I could do. I'm just gonna go up and crimp those very carefully and slowly, and hopefully that is not a problem area in the future. I wrapped up all the branch tees. I just need to do the sprinkler heads themselves, and the upstairs will be done. We can move to the downstairs, and then we can pressure test. Now, the only caveat to these, though, is to use my little heat gun technique to get what I think is a better seal. I can't heat the sprinkler itself up because I don't want to stress that little red glass bulb in there that would potentially make it fail prematurely in the future. So this is what I devised to do that. A very simple heat shield fashioned out of a piece of scrap fascia metal that I cut out to go right over that 1-inch bushing, and voila, we now have a separated compartment for the sprinkler and the piping that I can warm up. I've tested this on a few and it works shockingly well. I can heat the pipe up nicely, and when I take this away, the sprinkler is still cold as can be. Yep, that's nice and cozy. And of course, my spacer block on this one is just a little bit far over. I'm gonna have to loosen the sprinkler up a little bit in order to get it to clamp correctly. I must have just not been thinking when I assembled this one. I put the sprinkler too far to the left on the wood block, and I can't get my crimp jaws around the ring without interfering with that wood block where the ring needs to be. All the rest of them, I put the right side of the wood on, basically lined up with the bushing, so this can go anywhere to the right of the bushing, and it's good. My crimp jaws have space behind it, but I had to loosen this guy up a little bit. Of course, the one that I filmed is the most difficult one that I've done out of like 4 previous to this. I've shifted the whole dang box over. Oh my gosh, it's always something. This is the reality of this kind of work though. Even the simplest things turn out to be huge projects. Okay, finally, minor rework of positioning of this thing inside the box, and we are ready for crimping. And another wonderful side note is the 2 other ones up here have the same exact issue. I must have really been asleep when I was putting these things together. I don't know what was going on there. But luckily, it is not too difficult to remedy. Let's crimp this thing. Put it to bed. Oh my gosh, you definitely got to have a grip strength of a gorilla to do this with just your grip. Sweet. I think that'll do. Put 1 long screw in each of them just to lock this block down to the ceiling joist. 2 more up here, and we're ready. After all the downstairs crimping was done, I had to torque the last few sprinklers up in the ceiling. This is the same way they'd get replaced if one were ever to go off in the future. That was a lot of work getting all that piping in, getting everything crimped, making sure everything was well heated before it was crimped so it has the best chance of sealing. But now is the critical moment of pressure tests. This is my little pressure test rig that I have used for all of our plumbing so far, just a 1/2" T with a 200 PSI pressure gauge, a Schrader valve, and then on the other 1/2" I've just switched out whatever I needed to use for whatever the piping system was. In this case, I've got a 1" PEX female adapter, barb to female, and then a 1" to 1/2" bushing to reduce it down to my T. And then I have a little black iron nipple in between them, just a 1/2" nipple. So I'm gonna crank this guy up to 50 PSI of air first. That's the max working pressure of the system because I'll have a 50-30 pressure switch, 50 off, 30 on pressure switch to control the pump. So 50 PSI of air should be the max pressure it ever sees. If it holds there well, I'll crank it up to 80, which is, about 1.5 times system pressure to kind of give it the old stress test to make sure that there's nothing that's like on the verge of leaking and it's just not leaking quite yet. And then that will be it for the air test. I'll leave that overnight, make sure it doesn't drop in pressure, significantly anyway, more than a temperature change would do. And I'll eventually put water in it, but I'm only gonna do that when we're about to put our insulation in our ceiling. Obviously, we're uninsulated up there. It's January, it's getting down into the 20s at night, and I do not wanna risk something freezing up there and hurting a portion of the piping when I could just prevent that by testing with air first, testing with water when we get insulation in. All right, here we go. Let's fill her up. My air tank is sitting at just above 50 PSI, so this should take it to 50. No blowout so far that I can hear. Sounds pretty quiet. All right, and there is 50 on the nose. We're gonna stop right there, let that sit overnight, and see if we drop it all. See you in the morning. All right, it's the next morning. I have not gone in to check the pressure yet. If we've dropped, that is bad news. I will say in most of my plumbing systems, there is always a leak on the first try. So let's hope that we do not have that case this time around. Oh, door's locked. Put the light on up here. And what do we have? Hey, we are 50 on the dot. Let's go. That is fantastic news. We don't have any leaks in our PEX piping, which I was worried about. And it's a good thing I didn't put water in there because it did get down to 29 last night and it would have totally froze and probably caused some sort of issues. So I'm glad that I'm using air to start with. I think I'm gonna crank this up to 80 PSI now and give it a little bit of a stress test, see if we have any other issues with air. If that holds for a day or so, I think I'll drop it back down to 50 and just let it be there until I can assemble all of the riser equipment. Once all that is put together, I'll have a way to easily hook a hose up to the riser and fill it with house water pressure before I get the pump all hooked up and the tank hooked up and everything. I can at least fill it with water with 60 PSI house pressure and see that it holds up well there as well. I'm gonna do the whole pump and riser assembly in a different video. That is what this beautiful $500 box is right here. But to round out the sprinkler install video, I wanna finish our air sealing, which are all these guys. These are the lids to the boxes, which I left off so that we could crimp all of them. Again, just some zip sheathing scraps cut up into the right shape. I'm gonna run a bead of Lexel around 3 sides of it and then nail it on. That way we have a totally enclosed sprinkler box except for the bottom, which needs to be exposed to the living space. All right, let's bump this up to 80. Hopefully we don't regret this. But if it can't hold 80, then I don't know if I trust it to hold 50 long term. I should note that in a CPVC system, it is not really safe to put these high pressures with air because it can burst the CPVC, but I do not believe that PEX has the same issue. All right, that is just about 80 on the dot, maybe a little bit over. We will see how she holds. No immediate signs of lowering. It's good news. I wasn't sure what was the best sealant to use for this application, sealing around these PEX tubes. And I had plenty of this Lexel and Big Stretch and a couple other Sashco sealants on hand. I actually was able to call them. They have real people sitting there in Colorado where they make this stuff to answer questions about applicability, because actually on the data sheet of this Lexel, it says that polyethylene is not a great bond. It explicitly says that. So I wasn't sure, so I called them. They did say that Lexel's the best thing to try and just to test it out and see if it sticks. And honestly, it sticks quite well. Like when I tool it out, they said if it just peels off, like even when it's wet, then it's no good, but this is sticking just like I would expect it to any other plastic, really. So Lexel it is. It's probably my favorite sealant out there, to be honest. It's got a lot of good applications, nice and clear. Works well when it's cold out. It's pretty chilly out right now up here. I'm sealing it from both the inside and the out, because why the heck not? Only got one shot to do it. And while I usually use a caulk spatula, the finger is the best way to go in this case. It's the only way I can get down in these little spaces up against the back side. Can't forget to put a little bit of rock wool in there while we got the shot. Gotta love the squeeze out. Nothing more satisfying than some squeeze out. After I trim these boxes down, I never did trim my back sides down. They could come down another 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or something like that, but I'm pretty anal about a lot of stuff, but I figured it was not gonna really make that much of a difference. This is getting all covered in insulation anyway. It is a really miserable day out today. We got about 2 inches of snow and now it is just straight raining. And so this is a perfect day to be doing inside tasks. And now, like so many other construction tasks, it's literally just repeating the same sequence of movements over and over again until they're all done. just like that, I'm finally done with piping, mounting sprinklers, and air sealing them in custom-made boxes. That was quite a bit of work, but it's one of those things that you can't do after you get on to the finishing stage. So I wanted to make sure we did it right, even if that takes a little bit of extra time and effort up front. Much like all the rest of the stuff that we do on this build. I'm okay with it taking a little bit longer if it means a better performing end product that's not gonna give us trouble down the road. I'm cutting this video here. On the next installment, I will do the riser that I'm putting together and installing the pump and actually water testing this once we get some insulation in the ceiling and I'm not worried about the piping freezing. But it has been holding strong at precisely 80 PSI, which is where I left it for, I think it's been about a day and a half now is when I did that pressure test. So I'm very confident that, well, I say that now, fingers crossed, I'm very confident that there are no leaks, and when we go to put water in the system at roughly 50 PSI max, we will not have any problems. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.